Hey guys, I really like, you guys know me. I like geeky stuff. I like comic books.
What?
Oh yeah, movies, pop culture stuff, video games.
Not you.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
Say it ain't so.
I know, but you know what the problem I have? I have a problem finding out how to get this stuff on on a regular monthly basis, maybe?
If only there was some sort of...
Like a service or
Like
something.
a monthly subscription box.
Yeah.
That would fuel your geek needs.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's a good word to use.
I got $1 million idea, guys.
What's that?
Thanks.
That's a monthly subscription box called Geek Fuel.
What? And where would you get that at?
geekfuel.com/allofmyissues.
Yes.
All right, well, my mind is blown right now. So
I'll give you $3 off.
$3
Right now.
Whoa. You are blowing my mind right now.
Yeah. Keep it up.
I don't know what to say. My world is upside down.
You had me at $3 off
Yeah.
You had me at Geek Fuel.
at Geek Fuel. Monthly subscription box. Full of awesome.
Buy it now.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to another episode of All of My Issues. In this episode 31, we got the chance to sit down and talk to both Sam Ellis and Hoyt Silva. They are working together on a new project called Just Comics. Sam Ellis is known for his work on Season 1 of Archer, Frisky Dingo, Adventure Time, among other things. One of the awesome gigs that Hoyt Silva has going on is he works for the webcomic, or he creates the webcomic for the podcast Drink Champs. Drink Champs is a podcast hosted by rappers Noreaga and DJ EFN. So, without further ado, let's get started.
Audio only, so I don't feel so self.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, if you want it, we can put the camera on too. It doesn't matter. I'm not dressed up or anything. I don't look fancy, so.
We don't need
I dressed up, but just for audio.
Just for there you go. Yeah.
So just to let you know about us a little bit, this is a very casual podcast where we diverge from the original topic quite a bit, but we'll keep tying it back to you guys the whole time. So
Yeah.
We'll ask you questions, but we want to know more about you all. So
Yeah. That's why you guys are on here. So that's why we're interested in having you guys on here.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I guess one of the things, just to get started out, why did you guys go into the fields that you did? What started you down that career path, I guess?
Oh my!
Was there one defining moment that you're like, hey, I want to be an illustrator? Or
When I was 7, I was living in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, on the Marine Corps base. My dad's in the Navy, and I was watching a lot of Transformers and G.I. Joe. I finally got the Disney Channel, I guess because my parents loved me. And if kids out there don't have that, I'm sorry your parents don't love you. No, I'm just I'm not sorry they don't love you. I would watch a lot of the making of how movies were made, and I just became enthralled with wanting to do that. I had drawn before, quite a bit as a kid. Mostly little robots and stuff. I watched a lot of, I guess here in the States they called it Trans-Or Z, but it was the Mazinger Z cartoons. And, I loved Star Wars. I had all the toys, and when I say all the toys, we had a lot of them, because I've got my Rancor sitting next to me, but
nice.
I like to bring him up and pretend he's a puppet. But I wanted to be one of like three things as a kid, and it was either a comic artist, a animator for Disney, or a Muppeteer. And because I loved the Muppets and Jim Henson, and
you gotta love the Muppets.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
had a profound impact on my life, just being creative. And I drew a lot of crappy stuff as a kid, as most kids do, but I had a lot of fun with it. And when I was 7, back to the Camp Lejeune thing, my dad came home. My dad used to lie to us a lot as kids, which my son tells me is okay. He says, lying is okay what did he say, Zeke?
Lying's okay.
Lying's okay if it makes everything better, which is not good advice. You don't listen. But he would come home and he's like, hey, I made this for you today. And he'd give me like a little He-Man card, or he'd give me a little comic book. So this year he brought home a book called Crisis, and it had a ton of superheroes in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, who's this guy with a yellow helmet and a blue suit? Who's this really pale guy with the green cloak? Why is it cold? Maybe that's why he's so pale. Whoa, why the heck? Supergirl just died. I saw that crappy movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the box office that killed her. But I just fell in love with superheroes. And later that year, my dad gave me a copy of How to Draw Comics from Marvel Way.
Oh, I had that.
Yeah.
It's the one. If I had the camera on, I would do the poses. Good, better, best. For the action. In that, I started to look at things a little more. And then after that, I used to get the Lee James Draw 50 series. They had a bookmobile that would come around, and I'd hop on there. And I could never decide. They'd only let you check out one book. And I'm like, man, I only have this for a week. So it was either draw 50 cartoons, or draw 50 planes or cars, or a Haggard the Horrible kind of digest, or a Garfield book, because Garfield had a huge impact on me too. But that's kind of where I got started, and where a lot of people, like I said, I drew garbage as a kid, and that's pretty much what we draw. I mean, I still draw garbage, but
oh, come on.
But people would tell me, man, that's terrible. And a lot of kids, they hear that and they give up. And I was like, no, man, you're terrible. Because you told me that, you don't have to hang it on a fridge and go, oh, this is good stuff. But, never going to develop an artist if you tell him he's crap. I mean, you might, like a serial killer artist, but, that's how I got started.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a lot of the similar stuff going on too. When I was a kid, I really wanted to be an animator as well. Like, I thought that was like the ultimate awesome thing to do. And then I ended up going to Disney Magic Kingdom. I don't know if they still do this, but Magic Kingdom used to have this like section where you would go in and you would talk, and you'd have one of the animators would come out, and they do some kind of like quick little sketch of a character or whatever, and show you that they would use like a bouncing ball or whatever, how to animate stuff, and then you'd go on this like tour, and it was this walk through the studios and around the studios, and you'd see all the guys in the bullpen like drawing and like working and stuff. That tour was totally awesome, but it also made me realize that I was too lazy to be an animator. I was a kid and I realized like, you guys got to draw like 1,000 drawings to get like 10 seconds worth of screen time. I was like, no, I'm not too into that. That's a lot of work for a little bit of payoff. So, I think I just like took drawing as like a hobby. I doodled a lot. I drew a lot in my like notebooks and stuff like that in class instead of paying attention. But nothing serious, I wasn't really wanting to get into that. I ended up going to college for business at first. I was dating a girl and she convinced me that was the right idea. And to a certain extent it was because, I wasn't going to do college at all. And then I basically did all my core classes. I had like, nothing but electives left over. So I decided I was going to like just try some art classes since I was like art. I really realized then that I preferred art a lot over business. And I switched to fine art. But then I'm not very much like, I'm very like analytical and very right-brained about how I approach my art and everything. So I'm not one of those people that's just like, I did this because it made me feel this way. And, all this like flowery wording for like the meaning behind what they did. I'm not really like that. So I didn't do well in the fine art department. I ended up like switching my major again to graphic design. And I finished my AA in graphic design. But it's funny that you mentioned the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way thing, because I also came across that book as a kid, and that made me get more into comics. I think. I always read comics growing up, but that made me like really start looking at the art and really like starting to just like it a lot more. And then after that, I finished my AA. I moved out to San Francisco for a while. I was living out of my dad's garage. I was going to finish my bachelor's out there. And then I got there was a convention coming. I couldn't afford to go to San Diego Comic-Con. This is like 2011, 2010. And so I instead got a ticket to go to WonderCon because it was the only other convention that was going out there to California. And it was like a couple of months away from when I had moved out there. I basically went over the internet, put together a portfolio, was just like, hey, let me just try this comics thing out. I'm kind of interested in it. I always thought that I would do comics, but like comics is a side thing, that I would just do like graphic design and logo design, and then comics would just be something like maybe I'd do one comic in my whole life or something. And then I went to WonderCon with a portfolio of pages I put together, some Batman sample pages that were like crappy cross between like Bruce Timm and, Mike Mignola. And then like I had my own story I wrote and drew in there that was like sort of a crappy cross between like Ryan Otley and like Jim Lee. And, I just wanted to tell these stories. And I basically, my buddy Joshua Covey, we were in line to go get a different portfolio review, and he suggested that I go get a review from Brian Stelfreeze. I was terrified. Brian was like a walking god to me. And when I was a kid, I thought he like created Batman, because he was doing all the Shadow of the Bat covers, and I assumed
beautiful.
As a 10-year-old reading those, that like the guy doing the covers was the guy doing everything. And, like,
yeah. It always seemed like that, yeah.
Yeah. So like no one explained to me, when I went in the comic shop that wasn't the deal. I just assumed that was the dude. So So whenever I went to go get a portfolio review from Brian, he ended up having like these two other people in front of me. This one girl who was just, I thought at the time, fantastic painter. And he just like tore her to shreds in a portfolio review, and then taught her color theory and all this stuff and really broke her down. And then this other guy went, I don't remember his name. It was like Steve or something like that, but he was this bald guy, and he had these like awesome Captain America pages where Captain America was like fighting these terrorists on a train or whatever, and it was like perfectly illustrated, like so much detail. It was like crazy. I was like, oh my god, this guy's stuff is incredible. And Brian proceeded to like kick his ass about that stuff.
Oh man,
that's just way too focused on the art and not on the storytelling stuff. And so I was like, oh, he's gonna destroy me. This is game over. I have Batman samples in here. This is Stelfreeze. Like, this is it. I'm gonna end before I even start. And Brian really spent some time with me. He really broke things down for me. He showed me some fundamental things that I knew I was missing, just sort of in my trying to self-teach myself on the internet. He really broke that stuff down for me. And, he basically just offered to teach me and said that I should just move to Atlanta, that I should, basically screw school. Don't do that. Just move to Atlanta. He'll teach me. And that was like 6-7 years ago. and I have been drawing comics ever since then. I moved to Atlanta. I met him on a Saturday. I moved that Monday.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's really, I hate to interrupt, but
no, go.
When people are like, I don't know, because I've told people I just need to move out there, and they're like, I can't move out there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, don't follow your dream.
Right. Well, I just felt like it was one of those like crazy situations where this guy is like a legend to me, and he like turned around and said that he would teach me. To me, like it's the equivalent of like Zeus coming down from Mount Olympus, and saying like, "Hey, I want you to be Hercules." Like, what are you going to say to that? You're going to be like, "No, screw you, Zeus." Like, I don't want to do that.
Well, yeah. And if we've learned anything from Star Wars,
like, of course, you're going to want like to learn from the master. So. Yeah, I just I took it and I ran with it. And funny enough, my pops was like waiting at home with this whole if you're going to do comics, you can't stay in this house kind of speech. So that really like lit the fire under me to go, oh, okay, well then screw that, I'm out of here. No problem. But yeah, man, that's how I got started in comics. I've always sort of had this back passion to it, but then I just really fell into it and embraced it. And I just really worked hard, really practiced a lot. I think I'm a perfect example that I don't think like art and comics is a talent. I think it's like more of a trade. You can learn it. The more you practice it, it's like working out,
Gotcha. Okay. Is there you mentioned a bunch of different artist names there and stuff like that. Is there any particular influences that you guys have that like that really inspire you and that I don't know.
Yeah, I'm super inspired. Okay, so like my biggest thing is I want to do as much as possible with as little as I can. And it really inspires me when I see guys doing that. If you look back to the classics, even guys like Kniff, or definitely one of my biggest classic influences, Alex Toth. Like I look at his stuff and I'm just like awed with how much he can get away with without doing anything, and it's like really a focus on the storytelling. You can tell that that's the priority, sort of like those guys in that time got their work they weren't looking to be amazing artists. They were looking to tell these stories effectively. So they would raise their art to the level that they could communicate effectively, and then they would just focus on telling the story. And that's like really, really interesting to me. And then so like, and even more modern guys, like Mignola and guys like Rob Haynes, like Corey Walker and stuff, like these guys that like just can really show me the world in a simplified view, just always blow my mind. I'm always just like, I can see everything, and there's absolutely nothing on this page.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of elegance to their work. It's like they're like the perfect artistic martial artists. It's like they don't need all these lines like a bird nest. It's
right.
Like a nest. You got to have all these little lines to hold it together. Structurally it's unsound.
Right.
But these guys, their structure, they know, so they can just focus on the story, which is, that's king.
Yeah, and I think like it's also like stylistically, when you go simple, it's one of those things like you're saying, like the bird's nest thing when you're being really complicated and highly detailed. Like, Jim Lee, he throws down on a drawing, he throws down like, 1,500 lines on that drawing. And I mean, yeah, if he screws up like 200 of those lines, he's still got like 1,300 of them. Like the guys like Walker and like Haynes and Mignola, it's like they draw things with like 10 lines. So if they mess one of those lines up, 10% of their drawing is messed up.
Yeah.
So there is that like balance and that grace like you're talking about. And I like the idea, the analogy of it being like a martial art, because those guys who use simplicity, it's almost like a Wing Chun where they're like using your imagination in tune with what they're doing, to push you to where they want you to go. Like they're using your own momentum against you, and it's always intriguing to see that stuff.
Yeah, it's like judo, like story. I love comics because it's all about, I don't want to say manipulation in a bad way.
Oh, it is though. But
I hated regular art school because it was all about what do you think, and we'll create. You no longer the create, like when you give it away, your meaning is no longer there. I'm like, that's bullcrap. And I was like, I hate like experimental animation. I'm like, well, animation's either right or it's wrong.
Yeah.
Seeing bad situation. Like with comics, it's like if I want someone to feel sad, I either succeed or fail in that. If they are like, what is that, a dog or a mailbox? I'm like, what? Neither. It's that went off the side of a bridge. I messed up, you know.
Well, no, like and that's exactly it, man. I mean, like, I think there's no better feeling when I draw comics than, you know, for lack of a better way of saying it, making the reader my bitch. You know, like, when I can get that reader to like feel what I want them to feel, and this is also why I wasn't very successful as like a fine artist, because I didn't care about how I felt. My thing was like getting the audience to feel. You know, like how, and that's how I feel as a storyteller, is that like how I feel at the moment doesn't matter. What's important is the story and getting the emotion across to the reader. Like what the reader feels and how the reader sees everything is more important than how I feel as an artist when the story is at stake. You know, I got to make sure that I walk all that. And that's exactly it, is like when someone comes up to me and they talk about like something that I've done and we just discuss the story and the characters, and they don't say anything about the art, I know I've like got that person, you know, because they just paid attention to the story and not like I got out of my own way enough that they could enjoy what was going on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's interesting that you say that too, because I find that in like some comics too, it's like, you know, the perfect mesh between like the story and the art. Sometimes like if you have that art where it's too complex, you know, you spend some time looking at it, trying to figure out what's happening on that page.
Yeah.
You know, and
it
kind of,
it takes you out of the story.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I feel too, because you know, there are amazing art. Like, I mean, you know, a common example is Travis Charest. Travis Charest is a phenomenal artist. Like, he might be the best artist to ever touch a comic book. Like, as far as like technical ability and skill, it is incredible the stuff he puts down. And I've read everything that Travis Charest has ever worked on, but I can't tell you what any of those stories are about. All I can remember is the art. You know, he's such a good artist that I feel like when he does something, it's so amazing that I'm walking through an art gallery and I'm not reading a story. You know, it's like, it's one of those things like I'm not knocking that, you know, that's totally like, I enjoy that as an artist, but as a reader and a storyteller, that's taking something away from that. You know, it's sort of like, it's so good that I can't even look at the story. You know what I mean? Like, it's like going to see an awesome Michael Bay film that, the story's not so fucking awesome. Yeah. But look at that explosion. You're like at the edge of your seat the whole time. And before you realize that you had fun watching 2 hours of absolutely nothing.
You know? Fireworks. You know?
Right. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I totally enjoy that. But that's just not where I'm at as a storyteller, where I prefer to be. You know, so I'm trying to go for more, you know, guys like, and the other side of that spectrum is Frank Miller. You know, Frank Miller is the worst artist in comics. His art is terrible. You know what I mean, aesthetically speaking. But
storyteller.
Oh, he's a
great story.
Yeah. You can't pick up a Frank Miller book without opening it up and going, ugh, what is that? And then turning another page and another page and another, and before you realize it, you've spent the last 30 minutes reading this and you've been engulfed in it, and you now remember all of the events. You know, like, I can't tell you what the art of any specific Frank Miller panel has ever been, but I can tell you all the stories that he's worked on. I can tell you all of the events and all the things that happen to the characters because he considers story first, you know, and that's more of where I'm trying to be, you know, like, I would rather be more in that like storyteller realm to give me some room of play, you know.
Yeah, I never thought about that about Frank Miller before, but I think you're absolutely right.
I remember picking up Dark Knight for the first time and being like, this is the seminal work of the 80s. This is, and then you read it and then you're like, yep, that's it.
I understand that.
Yeah. I picked up Dark Knight at so I picked it up at my comic shop, but I also picked up the first edition trade paperback at like one of these school book fairs, and I'm like, there's a smiley face that's stamped in it, you know, when I bought it on the way, got it off one of the cafeteria tables, and I was like, oh, cool, Batman book. And I was like, oh, I already have these ones. when I got home. And I was like, man, one, they shouldn't be selling that at an elementary school.
Right.
It was a different time.
Well, they didn't know anything. They were like, oh, it's Batman. It's probably okay. But I always referred to it as Ugly Batman. You know, I was like, man, I love the Ugly Batman.
Yeah.
Like this old, thick guy that rides a horse. I was like...
it's awesome. But the thing is those ugly aesthetics matched the ugliness of the story he was telling.
Yeah,
that is true. Yeah.
And that is the engulfing part. You know, like he's stepping out of his own way. If that book would have been drawn by a Charest, by an Adam Hughes, like that book would have been too gorgeous. You know,
for that story,
as dark and evil and dark and like scary as it was. You know, so like it's part of the storytelling, man. I mean, like these guys. You know, South Park is another great example. South Park, again, is the ugliest animation on TV possibly ever. It's crap, especially when it started out. Yeah, but the crappiness of that animation added to the comedy. Imagine if South Park would have been drawn hyper-realistically. People would have watched that first episode with the satellite coming out of Cartman's butt and been like, yo, no.
Yeah, no thank you.
So...
one of the things that we figure you guys might want to talk about a little bit about this is the Just Comics group.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're making comics, Just Comics right now.
Yeah.
But so Just Comics, we're just kind of an independent collective. We're like a co-op of different creators that want to just kind of offer support to each other and promote good things. You know, Hoyt right now is doing a story with Trey Walker and Micah. What's his last name? Is it Myers?
Micah Myers, yeah.
Isn't he Austin Powers?
That's Michael Myers.
Okay.
So closely there.
They got Wayne doing lettering.
Yeah.
But they're doing a great story called Last Stop. And, you know, anyone that's listening, you should go to justcomicsgroup.com. You can
check out that
/Last Stop or click on comics and click on the link and read it. I'm mesmerized by the story. Great storytelling is really good. It's just fun. You know,
we're trying to do something a little different, you know, just all around on the Just Comics stuff, you know, including what Sam's doing with the Komander Kaiju stuff as well, which I strongly recommend anybody going to check out if you like monsters, robots, you know, just awesome stuff.
Who doesn't love monsters and robots?
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's at justcomicsgroup.com /Komander Kaiju with a K. Yeah. But that is also a fantastic book, and you know, we're trying to do something a little different. We're trying to we want to do something for ourselves that also gives back to the people that are supporting us. So you know, this is one of those ways that we can do that we can give stories away for free for absolutely nothing. We ask nothing of the people that are coming to support us and check it out. You know, like just read it. That's it. You know, and we run Patreons. You know, if people are interested in backing us up on that stuff, that's all up to you guys. You know, but we want to do this stuff for free, and then in the end, whenever we run a Kickstarter to fund a print version of what we're doing, we'd like to kick back a percentage of that stuff to a cause. Something that, like, you know, it typically is going to relate to the story that we're talking about, but might just be a cause that the creator themselves are passionate about helping out. You know, Sam's going to be doing some stuff for St. Jude's.
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil any stuff about his story yet, but it does have to do with kids. So, you know, that in a way reflects what he's talking about in the story. If you guys have or haven't read Last Stop yet, you know, the second update, you find out that the main character, Lincoln, Unstoppable, he is dying of cancer. So, you know, when I run the Kickstarter for that, I'll be donating the proceeds to the American Cancer Association.
Nice, nice. Yeah.
So, Yeah, we're just trying to do something to give back, because also, the way things are currently looking around, we're thinking that people might need some help in the future.
Yeah.
What?
What can we do as artists? We're not on the forefront fighting any wars. We're not building houses. We're song and dance men, as what we do, and women. What we can do is entertain people, and if people want to support us, we can make the world a better place by being actively engaged in a good cause, whatever that cause may be, and let people know, hey, when you help me, you're helping these people too, because the world can be a really depressing place. So escape with us and help us make the world a better place.
Nice, yeah. I wanted to kind of go back to Mazinger Z that you talked about it, if you don't mind, just because we were kind of talking a little bit about because a lot of that stuff is kind of connected to the Shogun Warrior toy line that they used to have, right? Yeah. So that as a kid, it's funny. Right before we started,
we literally were just talking about Shogun Warrior.
Yeah, and that's why when you were mentioning that, I was like, oh, it's hilarious. I got to bring that up.
I'm just going to click the camera, and I'm going to hold up a couple things really quick.
Sweet.
Got some little desk buddies. Am I on? All right, so we're going to...
Oh, yes.
and then, of course, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure your first big robot would be Tetsujin 28, controlled by a little boy, Gigantor. Your first robot that's actually piloted by someone would be Mazinger. But your first modular robot piloted by different people and controlled, transforms a big guy, would be Getter 1, who was like my favorite. His awesome tomahawks.
Yeah.
What is he, a genie? Look at those big fat legs. But he was a husky robot.
big calves.
Man, I love big robots.
Yeah.
And that are like the cylindrical, fun to draw ones.
Yeah.
Angles, unless they're cool wings, then I'll draw something. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, because we were talking about how awesome those toys were, because they were gigantic robots, and you don't get things like that today, it seems like.
So they did just release a couple months ago the 40th anniversary edition Shokugan Getter 1 with the big fist that rocked. Man, I remember seeing it. So I grew up in Virginia Beach, and they have this place called Mount Trashmore, which is a recreational area / landfill. They put a bunch of dirt on it and stuck some pipes on the top, so let the gas out. And they're like, oh, look, torches. And they put it around the lake, but we would go there and run up and down the Mount Trashmore. And man, I saw this guy, and he had the big old, Mazinger, and I was like, I want that. never got it. So anyone that's listening, if you want to send me one, you can. We'll be best friends.
There you go. Well, you got... Oh.
No, I was just going to say I always wanted to fly that glider. Pilot me a big robot.
There you go. That'd be awesome.
I'd trip.
Yes.
I would try to break dance.
Break dance. Yeah, that would be impressive, though.
That would be really impressive in a robot.
Yeah, especially one that has wings. I don't know how that would work out.
I know myself well enough that I'd probably just get it and be like, yeah, all right, cool, and try to run and just like Sam said, fall flat on my face, just trip and boom. Yeah.
Well, you guys have done a lot of different work and stuff like that. Is there like one piece of work or one thing that you've done that you're most proud of at this point in your career? Or? More than one? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a weird question for me. Because like I'm one of those guys that whatever I'm working on is like to me the awesomest thing I've ever done. Until it leaves my desk, then it's like the thing I hate the most. And the next thing I'm working on is the awesomest thing I've ever done. Yeah. So, I have to say, I mean, right now it's going to be last out. I think like as far as with the stuff we're doing, Just Comics, I'm really proud of that stuff because, we're trying to do something just us independently. We saw a need that we needed to address within the things that we were doing with publishers and all that stuff. Not to say that we're not going to keep doing publisher work. Like, I'm still going to do that. I'm working on a book with Doug Wagner over at 12 Gauge. That'll be out later this year, early next year. But there was just this thing that we've been working for so many different publishers for so long. We decided we wanted to do something that would be us, that like we could just fly and do what we wanted to do without restriction, and talk directly to the audience. And this has really given us that opportunity to do so. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, the way I'm looking at Komander Kaiju is if I play my cards right, I call it my this could be my Stan Sakai moment, like. Or it could be the thing that I work on for the rest of my life and be happy doing it. If I am true to the story, if I'm true to the art, and I try to entertain myself and the readers, I think I could enjoy drawing big robots and monsters and people in dire situation forever and be all right with that, So I'm like really, and I'm going to get really corny on you guys. Ready? This is one of my life philosophy things, like most proud of things. So like I'm a dad and stuff, So, that was a, let's see, what would you call that? A mixed media collaborative piece.
We're all dads here.
We're all three dads here, so we understand.
I always live by this saying, which is that no other success in life can compensate for failure within the walls of your own home. So, like, I work at home, homeschool the kids. I see them all the time. That I have very little that I actually want in life. And since I've been working on just my book at home, like I've been losing weight, I'm happier. I'm like, I get to focus on them, and it's like, to me, like I'm like, oh, okay, that's where I get the most happiness and pleasure from. That's what I'm going to focus on. So that's, sorry to get a little corny on you guys, but
no, that's fine.
We're talking comics.
Yeah. Well, you had a Kickstarter project that your kid just had, correct? Yeah, that was pretty successful, wasn't it? I thought
that little punk. No, he has there should be a comic that'll be showing up on Just Comics Group at some point by him and my wife, and occasionally guested by me. For their little story Cavi Capers, which is a comic strip about magical guinea pigs. But
who's the best kind of guinea pigs?
Not just regular guinea pigs.
Yeah, magical.
He wanted to do plush toys, and was like, "Hey, can we do these? You go to a lot of conventions. I want to try that too." I said, "Okay, yeah." We can do that, but you can't just do the plush things. You got to be putting your comic out. It's got to be more than just a toy. Said, he's like, yeah, I can do that. So I've been fighting China for the last couple months. Oh my goodness, it's things I've learned that I didn't ever want to learn about. Last thing we had, they were stuck in Shenzhen customs. Out there were like, oh, these are Totoros. And I'm like, they look nothing like Totoro. Totoro has legs and arms. These guys don't have legs or arms. Totoro has a snout. It doesn't have a snout. Totoro has a tail. Stubby that may be still has a tail. They don't have tails. Totoro has sharp ears. These have round ears. They're different colors than Totoro. I'm like, who makes these rules?
Wow.
Wow.
They're like, hey, if you want us to release them, you're going to have to get a letter from Studio Ghibli. Well, they said, ultimately it came down to that, but it was like, we didn't get a letter. We just found a different shipping person that knew they were related to, they had someone they were related to in customs. So they were able to push things through. I was like,
wow.
They were just trying to bilk us for money.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
So
to touch back on like the stuff that Sam was saying earlier with his kid wanting to do the Cabby Capers comic and all that stuff, like that's what I find so exciting about the Just Comics thing, because we're doing it ourselves. We can be flexible. Like Sam was saying that he could do Komander Kaiju forever. Like, that's awesome. I think that there's like total props in that, like, I'm not the guy that could do a story forever, so Trey and I, we have like a bunch of different stories with different characters and different places and settings and all stuff set up. So if this platform affords us the ability to basically put one of our stories out sort of every year or so, we're super excited about that, and like it allows us the format where, like, if Sam's kid has a comic about Cabby Capers and he wants to get on there and tell his story and he's going to be, he's going to get in there and do that, we can allow the space for that. Like, we're there to like support each other and help spread the word about what each one's doing. So
yeah, the end game, it just, anyone that's listening, because I've been getting a lot of emails. I know that Hoyt's been getting a lot of messages. A lot of people are asking how can they join up with Just Comics. And the thing that we want to do at first is, one, focus on what we're doing now before we start taking submissions and helping other people. We want to make sure that the model that we've set up works. We don't know.
Let's be totally transparent right here. We have no idea if this is going to work the whole way through.
We don't want to overpromise or give anyone false hopes. I know a lot of people have at some point in their life made a deal and thought, hey, this is going to be great, and then been like, oh, this is poopy. Someone put poop in my soup.
We've all been married.
So the 3 rings of marriage, right? I am going to get in trouble for this. Okay, there's the engagement ring.
Yes.
There's the wedding ring.
We're all tensely waiting.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the suffering. No,
I get punched by my wife a lot, so it's okay.
Buddha says that all of life is suffering. And to suffer is just to experience. So that's, Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, how did you guys end up getting together for the Just Comics group? Just you guys.
Were we in North Carolina Comic-Con?
Yeah, NC. No, New York.
Was it New York?
New York was the first time I think we sat down and actually like talked. Before that, we had like seen each other at conventions and just said hey in passing.
Yeah. So in New York, we roomed together.
Yeah. We were both working for a company, and they stuck us in a room together basically, and so we were forced to hang out the whole weekend when we weren't at the convention.
Kind of like college.
Yeah, long at all. We had nothing in common. Uncommon. We got along great.
Yeah, we got along great, and Sam's an awesome guy. I mean, you guys obviously know his like work, and not just as like an artist, because he's done awesome things with Archer and Adventure Time and all these cool properties, and it's amazing. I'm stunned whenever I look at his stuff. I'm just like, wow, that's just so cool. But at the same time, Sam is also like an awesome dude. And he saw my frustration with things that were happening. And, he had some frustrating things going on in his career at the time. And so we kind of it was one of those things that started there. But then I think, once we got together sort of at NC Comic-Con, and then it wasn't until January, I think, of this past year that I was getting out of Heroes Minicon, and I got a call from Sam And Sam was just basically like, hey, man, what do you think about this? You know, and he just pitched me the loose structure of what, you know, would end up becoming Just Comics. And, you know, I was like, dude, let's do that. You know, I have been talking about for years with Stelfreeze, my studio mate, you know, and our interns and sort of other stream mates I have about doing something like this. And, you know, just things hadn't lined up. You know, most recently Stelfreeze was doing Black Panther stuff and all that. So things just never like aligned themselves properly for us to get together and do something. And it just so happened that when Sam approached me about it, I was just in that space of like, yeah, I want to do something. You know, and so it just ended up working out. It was really like perfect timing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Silence the room.
Oh no, that's we met Sam at a convention as well. He was just super nice, just one of the nicest creators I've met at any convention I've been to.
Hey, I got my image to uphold. You can't say that I'm a nice guy.
Oh man, so mean. He actually hit me. It was terrible. No, so just speaking of conventions real quick, what's like the craziest thing you've seen at a convention? Because I'm sure you guys do a ton of them.